Coming to you live from WDWNT, the worldwide leader in parks news, this is ParksCenter. Hello, everybody. My name's Ben. Welcome to our second episode of ParksCenter, coming to you live right after the most recent March Madness discussions. Here with me tonight on the show, I've got Tyler.
Oh, Canada, everyone.
Got Rich.
Hello.
Peter. Say hey.
What's going on?
And Jill coming back for another helping.
Hello.
All right, folks, let's go ahead and jump on into this. Starting off, the rules changes. There were some last-minute rules changes tonight. What are people's thoughts on that?
I'm just blown away at how many registrations they got. I mean, that's what forced the rules change, but 600 plus registrations is an insane number, and it just goes to show how great this community is and how involved people want to get and how much fun they have watching this tournament. So, which is part of why we're doing this show. So A+ for March Madness.
Yeah, the numbers compared to last year are pretty staggering. Like almost double the amount of people or something.
Yeah, it's amazing. Almost triple, I thought Tom said. But in any event,
yeah.
600 participants for a call-in podcast type show is pretty amazing.
I also love that it involves strategy, that if you make that phone call, you can't use it again. That changes everything, especially with the amount of players. You got to decide when to use it, especially on a night like tonight with so many upsets, where it's do I use it to save Everest? Do I use it to save Jungle Cruise? It builds a little bit of strategy.
Although so many people wasted their calls tonight. It was except for the Everest Pooh calls, I feel like every other call that got made was kind of wasted. So
I have a lot to say on that.
Let's move on into that real quick. Everest versus Pooh, one of the biggest fights here. Everest pulling it off 16-15 after a lot of call-in votes. Thoughts, opinions?
Thank God.
Right?
Oh my gosh, my heart. I'm yelling at the phone.
Expedition Everest representing right here.
I'm sitting here losing my mind. I thank you for the callers who called it and saved it. And then people changing picks.
Right.
I was on the panel. I was losing it. Let me just say thank you to all those who called in. Everest should make a run. Let's go.
Let me take the opposite stance. Don't get me wrong. I love Everest. I only vaguely like Winnie the Pooh, the ride, but I feel like that ride does a better dark ride fantasy ride than Everest does with a themed roller coaster. I don't know how to explain it any better than that.
I may be a little biased on this because I remember when the Yeti worked, and boy, was that amazing. So Everest always has that in the back of my head when I'm thinking about it, and I don't fault Everest as much for the Yeti not working as other people might who have never seen it happen.
Can I ask a question? We're all judging this on our own individual merits.
We all have bias.
What about Everest makes it better than Winnie the Pooh? Because they're two completely different things.
So I'll throw that out there. Well, now you're talking about, granted, we were all spoiled when Everest first opened. It had a huge Yeti. It was the most expensive roller coaster ever built in the world at that point. I believe around $100 million just in that ride. The engineering between the mountain, the ride, and the Yeti itself blow it out of the water. It goes backwards. It goes in the dark. You have amazing views at the top of the hill. It goes fast. It goes slow. There's turns. You can bring your kids on it. In my opinion, it's the best roller coaster at all 4 parks, and actually in all 6 parks, if you include the West Coast too. I don't care that the Yeti doesn't work. If you didn't ride it when it did work, you don't even know the difference. So
can you bring your kid on it?
And yeah, of course, it doesn't go that fast at all. And even the drop goes into a turn and it makes it easy. My girlfriend doesn't like roller coasters. It's her favorite ride at Animal Kingdom. It's unbelievable how great that ride is, in my opinion. Plus the theming and the queue. Winnie the Pooh is just another, and I don't want to just say just another dark ride, but it's just another dark ride. Yeah, granted your car hops, but you're walking through, you're in the dark. You can go on Alice in Wonderland, you can go on this ride, you can go on that ride.
Right. That's a really good point.
Dark rides.
I don't feel like Winnie the Pooh is a standout dark ride in any way, whereas Everest is a standout coaster by Walt Disney World standards, in my opinion. It's got such great theming. That is such a huge plus for that ride, better than any other coaster in any of the parks, at least domestic parks. So,
and the views, even if you don't go on it, people take a picture in front of it. It is the weenie of that park. It's like got the beautiful pictures. It makes it, as soon as you look past the Tree of Life, it's what is that beautiful mountain? And their use of force perspective, it's more than a ride. Even if you don't go on it, it is a beautiful sight to behold.
Okay, you've swayed me. Although Tom from Ride Rehab refused to go on Everest because it still looked too frightening. So
it's fantastic.
It's so good.
To him, he can't, like, he went on Pooh and he enjoyed it, but he did not feel like he could go on Everest. That was just what I was sort of
Going
judging it off.
backwards in the dark is kind of freaky.
It's
the
awesome.
first time, it's amazing. And if you like coasters, it's very special, I think. But the first time it happens, even if you're a big coaster fan, it's a little disorienting.
I bring all my friends who've never gone on like roller coasters. That was their first roller coaster for 3 of my friends, and I didn't tell them went backwards or in the dark, and they loved it. They loved it. It's the element of surprise. It was so much fun.
I love it. Moving on from there, Smith v. Smith, the Nemo versus TTA fight, having a lot of infighting there. What do we have to say about that? That turned out to be quite a bit of a mess, and I was not expecting it to be one, to be honest with you.
So first of all, huge disappointment in the outcome of that. But I thought what was hilarious is the fact that Marcy and Dave were arguing over Nemo versus TTA, and yet at the end of things, they both voted for TTA. So, and I was surprised, especially considering how much Marcy had kind of argued for a lot of the live shows and how much effort performers put into all the live shows and the parks, that she wound up going for TTA. I was a little disappointed in her vote on that one, I got to admit.
I like the outcome of that one. I'd agree with the TTA being the ride over the show of Nemo the musical.
I tear up every time at Big Blue World at the end of that show.
Oh,
like I have to
too.
take tissues every time. I've seen that show so many times. I do it at least twice every time I'm down there, and I cry every time.
Even just listening to the soundtrack, it's powerful. I mean, what they did to make a 90-minute movie into like a 20, 30-minute musical, the music is also really good in that show. There are some songs that don't really stand out that much, but
True.
But it's a really powerful show still. Like the message still comes across very well.
Totally agree.
It's a great show. This was, I think, one of the closest matchups on there, and I wasn't going to be upset no matter kind of where this fell. Nemo was amazing, but the TTA is also, like Tom says, you have those views. It's got the old nostalgia factor, which I'm going to get way into later because it was ridiculous. It went way too far tonight. But in this matchup, I wasn't too upset either way. Good for TTA for pulling it out, but Nemo should get its due. It's a great show.
I was really disappointed that it was such a lopsided vote, that Nemo only got 1 vote from the panel. Like, okay, I can understand at the end of the day, classic Disney TTA wins, but I was hoping this would be a little more of a contest.
I do like Nemo better, but I was thinking of like, what was the intent of these parks and the rides within them? So TTA is supposed to be like the sort of city of the future sort of thing, and here's our magical Wedway people mover as it used to be. And take a look at all the stuff you could see in Tomorrowland versus this musical about undersea life being in this park that's supposed to be about conservation. It's not really connected too much to what the intent of the park was.
Agreed. And I think part of the motivation for Nemo getting put where it got put was simply that they needed more attractions in Animal Kingdom when it happened.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, I'm gonna move on a little bit early then from here. Slamming the door, the biggest shutout of the night. Like what? Well, there were a good number of shutouts tonight, but what was one that either you were not expecting to be a shutout or just stunned at how quick they decided to just kill something off?
I mean, Jungle Cruise? I got to point that out. Like, that's one of those things you always sort of, well, didn't it not win?
I'll take close.
It didn't win, but it wasn't a shutout.
Yeah, it wasn't a shutout. But yeah, that's an upsetting loss.
I was a little surprised that Beauty and the Beast Live got shut out by Small World. I thought that would have been a closer conversation. I think Small World still would have won because we've seen all of the classic Disney attractions pretty much upsetting things that I certainly didn't expect them to. But I was definitely surprised that Beauty and the Beast Live didn't get any love at all.
I was kind of surprised at the Cali versus American Adventure. I thought at least somebody would prefer getting wet. I mean, yeah, Cali is short.
To
And
taking a nap.
it's not the best rapid ride, but American Adventure is often dissed for being a good place to take a nap. So that was surprising. The speed and the definitiveness of that shutout surprised me.
I mean, I like Cali better, and I still just refuse to go see American Adventure.
I feel like that's something you have to see at least once.
Yeah,
I've watched it online. I've watched like people recreate it in Roller Coaster Tycoon and stuff.
Oh.
But when we were there, they were like, "It's a 30-minute movie," and we're like, "No."
We probably hit it every third time or something like that.
Yeah, that's my schedule. Every third time, you got to go see it. Now with the upgrades, I think everyone should go see it.
Agreed.
Yeah, I don't think any of the other shutouts surprised me, so sorry.
No, that's fine. So moving on from there, the biggest upsets of the night. I know we've already talked about a couple of these, especially I'm going to say exempting the Everest Pooh fight.
Yeah.
What do you say was the biggest upset, the biggest twist in the night?
Jungle Cruise Dinosaur had a lot of discussion and a lot of extra points called in. So that was a little surprising that went back and forth.
Yeah, just based on how many picks they made, and may I add, ridiculous picks they made based on nostalgia, and then they don't go with Jungle Cruise, they go with Dinosaur. Are you kidding? Where did this come from? I was super shocked. Very surprised.
I feel like people diss Dinosaur a lot, and like the Jungle Cruise is one of those like classic, we can't get rid of it kind of things.
Yeah, being of the ilk that disses Dinosaur quite a bit. I don't know. It's mediocre. It's a great ride system with not so great execution, in my opinion. Especially if you've been on Indiana Jones
that's true.
Yeah.
Disneyland. It's so subpar compared to that with the same ride system. So
I like
again,
Dinosaur. I go on Dinosaur every single time I'm at Animal Kingdom. I like the ride a lot, but Jungle Cruise is just too much fun not to go on. It's a longer ride. It's a better experience. Even if you get a bad skipper, you're on a boat sailing through. You're in the air out about. Dinosaur's the same thing every time. Jungle Cruise. How does that not win?
Yeah, I agree with you there. Honestly, I got to chime in here and just say, if you get a bad skipper on Jungle Cruise, you can have more fun with them by yourself. Like, go be your own skipper at that point. Like, just start making fun of the darn thing yourself. I've done this a couple times, and it's great.
I don't think it's the skipper. I think sometimes it's the boat, whoever's in there. Like, we were at the back of the boat, and we were all me and my friends were having a ball, but just the other people in the boat were not laughing and enjoying it. So we looked weird for laughing at these jokes that are purposely supposed to be terrible. Like, comedy is hit or miss, which is why Monsters doesn't do very well a lot of the time. But
it's like when people go on a boat with all their in-laws, and it's like,
or people who just don't understand it. Like, sometimes it's a language barrier most of the time. At least that's what it seemed like in our boat. Was just people from another country who just didn't understand a lot of the puns and jokes because not everything works well transferred to a different language or even being translated. But in comparison, I could sometimes just walk on Dinosaur, just walk right in and there's no line. And yeah, the pre-show is still pretty solid, although being mildly dated. The Jungle Cruise script always works, I think. But
like I said, Dinosaur's a good ride, but Jungle Cruise is just a classic. But that wasn't my biggest upset, if I could just jump in. How does Country Bear Jamboree...
This was on my list of big upsets too. I was so surprised by this.
Are you kidding me? First of all, only because a lot of their arguments was, well, Test Track could use some updating and some refurbishments, and it would be a lot better with this, and this. Meanwhile, Country Bear Jamboree needs a refurb more than any other ride. It's a great show, but it's clickety clack. It sounds like a Chuck E. Cheese if you sit close enough to the animatronics.
Thank you.
It's out of control. Yeah. How does Test Track lose to this? Test Track should be blowing through these rounds. Oh.
I think Test Track should have been the first lead in Epcot, and to see it get blown out by Country Bear is really disappointing.
Yeah, I will
say the two upsets I was happy to see were Carousel of Progress over Rock and Roller Coaster and Turtle Talk over Frozen Sing Along. I was so surprised by Turtle Talk over Frozen Sing Along, but so happy.
I can't believe Turtle Talk had a worse ranking than Frozen Sing Along. To me, that Turtle Talk's a favorite there. That's not even close.
because there are no attractions left in studios.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, there was like 5.
Moving on from there into the up award for the night. What match made you cry the most? I know there was a little bit of upset. Like, just I really wanted to see this make it further. Why is this dead already? What
Nemo the
got
musical.
you?
I wanted to cry when Nemo the musical got booted so easily in round 1.
This is also my third upset, and I was so upset that Navi River lost to PhilharMagic.
Yes.
Like, it's just such a beautiful ride. Again, this is just a Nor updating. PhilharMagic needs updating so hard. Navi, even though it's shorter and it should have been longer, again, we're all Disney nerds for the most part because we're on these shows. But if you didn't know that and you just go and look at that ride and ride it over and over, you see new things. The technology is amazing. How did that lose? It's just such
the other thing that bothers me about this matchup is I feel like, to me, so much of it was about like intention. Like, PhilharMagic is just a thing that they shoved in there when they were budget cutting because they needed a space and an attraction to take up people. Navi River Journey also obviously has so much thought and time and effort put into it. I mean, obviously, since Pandora opened so late, it had plenty of time. But there's so much detail. Even though people say, "Oh, it needs more animatronics" or whatever, there's so much detail in the scenery. And every time people talk about it, and they always say, "Every time I go on it, I see something new." And I feel like to choose PhilharMagic over that just made no sense.
For me, it was
I gotta agree with you there. I've really got a bit of a soft spot for River Journey, just because that was the first attraction I did in Pandora because I was able to get on it relatively quickly, and it's just so gorgeous. Like that whole land, that whole everything about it is so great, and it's a great introduction to the whole land. And seeing that die this quick is kind of upsetting.
Mm-hmm.
For me, the up award was for Test Track. I like everyone at WDWNT makes fun of me for liking Test Track in general for some reason, but in comparison, I'm like, country bear music. I don't like country music, so it's not for me. But meanwhile, that Test Track cue music is bopping. I love it. I mean, what was the song we used to open up ParksCenter today?
Yep, that's
wasn't a
the
country
theme.
bear song.
The theme for a reason.
I like it. It screams the style that Epcot should be right now, in the level of futurism and effects and stuff like that.
Yeah, Test Track Q is one of the most classic Epcot songs that was not there for classic Epcot. I don't know who they got to make that, but man, did they do a good job at that.
Definitely agree. That's one of my favorite themes.
I think we can all agree.
The soundtrack to the movie in the queue too. I mean, that's an amazing soundtrack too.
Epcot has the best music loops, hands down, across any.
I agree.
Yeah.
The composer is Paul Leonard Morgan. I know that because I've watched the making of video where they show them composing that song. Anyways.
Oh, thank you.
We learned something tonight.
Moving on to our last category of the night, any thoughts on the March Tragic, the parody shirts that we've been making to go alongside this? What do you think is going to take it? Like, what did you see get knocked out that you really wanted to see sticking around?
I just want to say I'm really happy that there's a lot of really good shirts still left in the competition, and there's tons of these that I think would make good t-shirts that people will buy, whereas I think last year there were weaker contenders. So I'm definitely happy to see a lot of these. I can totally see people wanting to buy comment section Psychos. That's hilarious. I was a little disappointed that the Discovery River Disappointments got booted out.
Tough seed there. Tough seed.
I'm also excited about the Figment Funko Fighters, simply because I was involved in the Epcot 35th Figment Pop vinyl craziness, and it was good times.
I was there too. I just came off the
I had people who wanted to strangle me because I had bags full of Figment Pops.
So you actually got in there early then.
Gets a great background.
Hanging out right over there.
Why does he have a jar? That could be more Canadian. He's got a jar of syrup behind you. He had a jar of syrup. There's nothing more Canadian.
From the woods out back.
It's 12:30 in the morning by me, and he's walking by with a jar of syrup in Canada. Unbelievable.
I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't see anyone.
Oh man,
We celebrate cultural differences on this show.
that's great.
Telling me that couldn't be better. But anyways,
I think, just a comment, because money, I think if you watch or hear or listen to any of our shows, you hear that over and over again. I think that's going to make a pretty decent run. I'm excited for this next round of actual March Madness, though, because some of these matchups, if you look ahead to next week or later on this week, is going to be very, very tough and very unpredictable based on what I saw tonight.
Yeah.
Let's actually go off the schedule a little bit here and just quickly talk about what do you think is going to be great coming up on Wednesday night?
I mean, I think the upsets will continue. I think Carousel of Progress, if it beat Rock and Roller Coaster, it's going to beat Mission Space. So I think we see Carousel of Progress making it another round for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it can't beat Rock and Roller Coaster, there's no way it's beating Mission Space.
It's going to get really far into the finals, I think.
Yeah. If we ended up with Carousel versus Soren, that would be really hard.
I'm happy.
That would be a fun one to watch. Yeah.
I'm super happy Everest won because I have a feeling that will actually beat Turtle Talk easier than it beat Winnie the Pooh. So now we're going to see Everest make a run, which is exciting.
I think Peter Pan versus Safaris is going to be an interesting conversation.
Oh my gosh, that is going to be so hard.
And Frozen Ever After versus Small World.
It's going to be a classic versus something new that everyone currently loves. Like, I think it's going to be like Haunted Mansion versus something else or whatever.
Do you think Big Thunder stands a chance against Country Bear since it did so well against Test Track?
But Big Thunder also has that classic Disney nostalgia going for it. So
I hope it gives it a little bit of an argument at all. Please.
Are you hoping for a sweep on that one then?
Oh, I want Big Thunder. I just want Country Bear Jamboree to get refurbished. So I can't let it. I don't want it to win.
I want it to get refurbished out of this competition.
If it could just be down for the next 2 to 3 weeks on this show, it'd be great.
Muppet Vision versus Spaceship Earth is going to be a tough conversation.
Oh yeah.
It seems like
even
TTA versus Toy Story Mania is going to be an interesting conversation after tonight.
I think Mania's got to win. I think more Dinosaur over Splash Mountain. I hope Splash Mountain runs away with it. A lot of Dinosaur fans have beat Jungle Cruise. It's going to be a fun round.
Here's the other thing I want to see in the next round of March Madness is my brother continuing to talk about how he could ride things or not 10 times.
I think every round he should up it 5 more. Like, can I ride this 15 times in a row?
He has to have the sparkle shirt on. That's
oh my gosh. His shirt.
Oh my gosh, his shirt was so loud.
It was actually projection mapping.
Oh, that's what it was.
I'm glad to see Figment got into the next round, but against Flight of Passage, that's going to be a very, very...
Oh, that's getting blown out.
Yeah, Avatar's going to move on, but then there's going to be an argument of people... I think people are going to call in for Journey into Imagination just for some kind of protection, like the argument about terrible Figment is better than no Figment, which, I mean, that is agreeable, but... I think there are people who are going to call in to try and save that in some way.
Speaking of Figment, did any of you guys see that Neil Patrick Harris was wearing our WDWNT Save Figment shirt today?
Oh,
that was
wonderful.
Incredibly cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
Does anyone think that if Figment lost a little bit of weight, he would look like a Banshee anyway?
Oh. Wow.
He needs to visit makeup to get some.
Sorry, I'm just going to take a sip out of my cup real quick here. That was a Figment cup, in case it was very hard to see with the quality.
Yeah, the moment that Flight of Passage dies in this tournament is the moment that it's winning my up award, because I think that needs to be taking the whole thing. But
yeah, based on what we saw tonight, it's going to be interesting. These guys such old school votes, so we'll see what happens.
All right, and I am going to be calling it here. It is currently 12:35 in the morning East Coast time, and thank you for staying up with us. I really appreciate it. I don't know why, but thank you for coming. We will see you again Wednesday night, same time, same place, and have a good one, folks.
Good night, everybody.
Night.
Now it's time to say goodbye to... Oh.
It still says live. So thank